A surprise positive test for ovine Johne's disease jolted Bordertown farmer Richard Halliday to reassess every aspect of his farm management and implement major changes to his biosecurity system. Ridding Mr. Halliday's Kalawi Pole Merino stud of OJD was a costly experience, both financially and emotionally. But it also led Mr. Halliday to implement a thorough on-farm biosecurity system focused on risk identification and prevention of pests, diseases and weeds from entering the farm in the future.
You have a list of questions you ask yourself about your own property, and if you can tick most of the boxes or all of them, or we say, well, we need to address that, that's the starting point. Then you actually look at your neighbours, because most of you know what your neighbours do, with the same set of questions, and if you can't tick all those boxes for a neighbour, you know there's potentially a biosecurity risk to your property.
Mr. Halliday believes the fecal-borne OJD bacteria was washed onto his pasture from a neighbouring property during the wet summer of 2011. The outbreak was detected early through Mr. Halliday's involvement in the Sheep Market Assurance Program, which features regular testing of stud sheep for OJD. Actively monitoring his flock health in this way was vital to preventing the disease taking hold on a large scale.
It was probably an advantage that we were part of the market assurance, that we were testing all the time to guarantee there wasn't anything here, because if we hadn't been part of market assurance, it could have been 5 years before we found anything, and then that would have been a lot bigger issue to deal with.
Vaccination has been an important tool in preventing the spread of the disease within his flock and protecting it into the future.
To us now, well, vaccination is a key, because we can't control where the water goes, but if we're vaccinated, with the risk of us getting, a reinfestation will be reduced greatly.
With the support of the Sheep Meat Council of Australia and Wool Producers Australia, Mr. Halliday is now promoting to other producers the importance of good on-farm biosecurity for protecting farm businesses from the loss of income associated with unwanted diseases, pests and weeds.
Biosecurity starts at home, and if you develop a plan that will work for you, I'm not saying you'll never have a problem, but you'll reduce the risks into the future for yourself.
And while he can't stop the overland flow of rainwater, his biosecurity plan limits the likelihood of pests, diseases and weeds from entering his property by other means. This can be easily incorporated into everyday farming activities by using clean sources of feed, mending fences and using a sheep health statement when buying stock. Mr. Halliday says the sheep health statement is the best risk management tool available. It is designed to give producers a greater level of information about the history and management of a flock, such as disease testing and vaccination, so that they can make informed buying decisions.
We buy some in, but we always buy in on a sheep health statement, and we'll always buy from areas that are, in the old days, used to be low prevalence areas, and you aim to buy from fellas that have had an abattoir surveillance done or are self-replacing, that don't buy in stock. So, take responsibility for what you're doing, really be aware of what you're buying and where you're going.
Bringing livestock onto the farm is the most common way of unintentionally introducing harmful and costly diseases, pests and weeds. To remove this risk, Mr. Halliday is working towards again running a closed flock.
We were a closed flock, and we will work back to being a closed flock. So the only introductions to our property is semen, when we will buy in semen to AIUs to breed a replacement sire for ourselves, and we will stay on that path, because then we're not actually bringing any animals onto this property.
Advice on developing on-farm biosecurity plans is available from most local vets or from farmbiosecurity.com.au.